LLM SEO. I'm going to be showing you guys how you can rank higher. Now, as you can see here, Best SEO Experts 2026. This is inside Perplexity. And as you can see, we've got Kasra, we've got James Dooley, Corey, Kyle Roof, Matt Diggity, Tryphon, everyone that I know. And then as you can see within Claude here, we've got Kasra, James Dooley, Scott Keever, Katerina, Simon, Gareth Hoyle. The list goes on and on and on. And then if we go over to Google AI Overviews, as you can see here, we have got Kasra, Carl Hudson, Matt Diggity. We've got Jamie IF and a few others as well. And then if you take a look here, you can see in the top 20 SEO list, we've got Kasra and James Dooley there as well. So when it comes to ranking in LLMs, as you can see, like if you optimize for one, whether it's Claude, whether it's Perplexity, whether it's ChatGPT, or Google's own AI overview, you are very likely to show up in all of them. In essence, all of these AI tools, or LLMs if you want to call it that, they have a very similar approach. They have got a list of websites and they will go and scan those websites and aggregate the actual information. So for example, if there are 150 websites all mentioning how great of an SEO you are or how amazing your e-commerce store is, there's more chance of you showing up for certain keywords. Now, as you can see, this is exactly what's happened here. So when I search Best SEO Experts to Follow 2026, we've obviously got the AI overview right at the top. We've got a lot of different names being mentioned here. But if we actually take a look at the sources, right, as you can see, we've got my own website, kasra-.com, ranking in the #1 slot with all of the names, right? So we've got Charles Float, Gareth Hoyle, Jamie IF, Corey, Matt Diggity, Craig Campbell. The list goes on and on and on, right? Then if we were to go to position #2, if we take a look here, this is Dean Signori, and he has done a very similar approach where he's positioned himself #1 and he's named all the other SEOs. Then if we go to position #3, for example, as you can see here, we've got Jan Porkan from Priority Prospect. And as you can see here, he's done the listicle, named all of the SEOs. Then we've got Nikola Baldakov. And with his LinkedIn profile, he's been able to create a list of all of the SEOs here. And as you can see, very similar list. And that's basically how the listicles actually end up ranking inside the AI overviews. Now, when it comes to AI overviews and ranking, highly recommend you guys get this sheet. I'll have a link to this down in the description as well, so you guys can get access to it. If you do get access to it, click on File and then make a copy. But we need to know of 3 different asset types, right? We have got owned assets, then we've got rented assets, and then we've also got PR as well. Now, basically what owned assets are is you actually own them. So that could be your website, for example. As you can see here, this is our own website. It's actually not going to the correct page. So this is our own website here. Then we've got the LinkedIn Pulse article. Now I've just linked to Nicola's LinkedIn post because I've actually not done a LinkedIn article just yet, but that is another way that you can actually control the narrative and get into AI overviews a little bit more. Then you've got like other owned assets. Like I could do a video on my YouTube channels about the best SEO experts to follow in 2026. I actually probably should as well. And that again would help feed the LLMs. Then you've obviously got Twitter. You've even got like Medium articles. With the Medium article, I would actually probably put it as being owned because you actually own the asset. You could even do like a Reddit post as well in here. But again, it does come down to what assets that you actually own. Like in some cases, some websites might have a very strong Pinterest profile and you might decide, okay, I'm going to do more Pinterest posts, for example. We then on the list have podcast mentions. So again, You could do like a podcast, or you could do a podcast run. Now, one thing that I would say when it comes to AI overviews, right? If I was to just make up a name here, like Kasra Diggity, for example, right? It would be a lot harder for Google to understand who Kasra Diggity is because there's no other mentions. Now, the good thing about doing LLM SEO is indirectly you're actually helping with EEAT. So what I mean by that is it's very prominent. Like, for example, the most prominent names that continuously come up is Kasra Dash, Matt Diggy, Ferry Kazoni, Leo Sulas, and Charles Float. And the reason for that is because we've probably got the most prominence out of everyone on the list. For example, like Matt Diggy has a really big following on YouTube. He's got a big website, and Google obviously understands who Matt Diggy is. Same goes with Ferry, same goes with Charles Float. So again, if you do have a lot of podcast mentions, if you are guesting or like being a guest on a lot of podcasts, obviously that can definitely help in the long run as well. Then you've got digital PR articles. Now, I've actually not done any digital PR articles, but if we were to get like a search engine journal or an SE roundtable mentioning these SEOs, that can, again, definitely help big time. Then I've got like the Masterminders website. Now, I've not done anything on the Masterminders website, but again, because Masterminders, it's an SEO conference, I'm constantly getting speakers and stuff like that. I could have done a article on the Masterminders for best SEO experts, and that could definitely help. Now, these are all of the rented. Now, there's a ton of rented assets here. I believe there was at least 26 or 27 of us that took part in this test. It wasn't just me, by the way. I do have to thank everyone that actually did do the actual test, like, for example, Katerina, Carl Hudson, Milos, David from Score Mines. There was a lot of us that actually took part in this test, right? But these are basically what's called rented assets. So the rented assets, like Dean, for example, could technically remove anyone from this list. Like I don't own that list, for example. He's just been kind enough to write an article. Same goes with the guys at UK Linkology. You've got George and Jason, for example. These guys, again, could change the list next year if they really wanted to. So these are basically what's called rented assets. Now, the rented assets, it's really important to get as many brand mentions, whether it's your name, whether it's your company, on these rented assets, along with your competitors. And again, this in some cases sounds a little bit backwards, because as SEOs, we've always been trained to not give any link equity or not give any brand mentions to our competitors. But that's probably the one biggest difference when it comes to ranking in inside AI overviews and ChatGPT and Claude, etc. If you are not being mentioned, like if my name is not being mentioned alongside guys like Matt Digity, for example, Julian Goldie, James Dooley, Neil Patel, right? Google will not associate my brand or my personal name as being an SEO, right? My name needs to be alongside some of the greatest SEOs. Otherwise, Google's just going to think, Kasra Dash is just a general digital marketer, right? Which that's not what I want to give off. I want to be listed in articles with Lily Ray's name, Alida Solis, Brian Dean, Rand Fishkin, Craig Campbell, etc. If my name is not mentioned in any listicles or any rented assets, then Google's going to have a really hard time figuring out what I do. Now, the same goes with like a brand, for example. If I was to go and set up a sports brand, right, tomorrow, let's call it Kasra Fitness, I would want assets like rented assets naming my brand alongside brands like Adidas, Nike, Puma, Gymshark. Otherwise, again, Google might not understand what I do, or LLMs might not understand what I do, who I serve, and what my target audience is. And then the last one down here, we actually have got a little bit of a press release being sent out. So we've got the best 26 experts to watch in 2026. And if we take a look here, as you can see, this is actually showing up the press release as opposed to a regular AI overview. But again, we've got the list of the wonderful names that actually did take part in the test. So massive shout out to everyone that took part. It wouldn't have been possible without everyone that actually did take part. But this is basically just a big PR gig, basically showcasing the best 26 experts. This is another one as well that we decided to do. And again, this helped when it comes to feeding the LLMs. So the biggest free things, right? If you want to be cheap and if you don't want to actually spend much money doing this, I would always recommend going after the owned assets because you own them. You don't need to pay. So for example, making certain that you have got a listicle on your own website, making certain that you have got a LinkedIn Pulse article, making certain that you've got a YouTube video, making certain that you've got a Twitter profile mentioning the roundup, even posting on Medium. Then you've got like podcasts. Now podcasts, I would say that they're probably a little bit middle ground because in some cases you might need to pay to go on to certain podcasts, especially if you're just starting out. In other cases, you might not. Then you've got like the digital PR. Digital PR is probably going to be the most expensive on the list. I would probably leave that to be in last. In some cases, you might not need digital PR. Depends on the keyword difficulty and how much competition there is inside the LLMs. Then you've got the rented assets. So that would be like the listicles on your competitors' websites, for example. And then we've got the PR as well down here. Again, with the PR, you might not need it if you do have a lot of rented assets that you can get mentioned on as well. So that's been my video on how to rank in LLMs like ChatGPT, Google AI Overviews, Claude, Perplexity, every single one of them. If you do want this list, the link will be down below. So click the link down below, grab the sheet while you can. Obviously, you would want to basically just try and get like maybe 10 to 15 mentions. And that's the sweet spot for a lot of different keywords. Unless you're in like something super hyper competitive, you might need more. But for this test, this definitely worked. If you guys have enjoyed the video, please remember to leave a like. And as always, please subscribe. We are doing daily videos. If you want my help with LLM rankings, SEO, head over to kasra.com and fill in the contact form and I'll be in touch. Thanks.